also like not really interesting right now as for like while chasing Sasuke, like basically the smell that is clear right now. The North Park and right now smelling pretty most likely the smell connected to the trap left by Tamari yeah, for Sasuke. So like I'm thinking that Sasuke might have maybe avoided not fallen into all of the traps, especially when the maybe after that falling into like the initial trap, Sasuke might have avoided like a bunch of that the trap inside like that which might have been set by Tamari back then. Definitely maybe like it might be that the trap would be having like a smell associated with that trap. Which definitely because of that trap set by Tamari might have was have like some sort of a strange smell connected to it. It's definitely knows like and that smell would be what like passing is right now smelling so definitely my consideration. So like Pakun and like now friends others might have made it so far made it that far. It's definitely my favorite right now. And so like but Nila Bhasran right now is for like Pakun most likely like they think like the smell the smell like Pakun most likely thinking that it's like a trap in time. And basically Pakun being a bit of Pakun being able to like dodge that trap as well as like and I'm considering like the moment Pakun would be able to like properly detect that that is like realize that it's like a trap that can work in Pakun most likely shouting out to like Sakura and Naruto to like thought it's like trap or something along the lines. And I was like that way, solely due to that, I solely due to Bakun dodging that trap and solely due to Bakun like Sakura fell dodging that trap, but like Naruto and the ring, totally Naruto's reaction time being too late and or like Naruto might not even hear that Bakun at that point. And definitely like I'm talking Naruto totally falling for that trap, it's like and getting just to like a proper extent, it's like the scenario that I was delivering and I'm putting. And so definitely the Korean section right now with that are so bad they've so scared and injured right now that basically can so that basically can carry as an unconscious or like the barely conscious car like definitely the Korean section right now is definitely for the Sanskrit like the Southgate having thought of to like and for as a scenario right now it's a gun from like a thing like the Sanskrit within Kara would be like totally waking up Kara like the scenario that I'm looking like the Sanskrit would be like right now would be usually all of a sudden would be like really detecting like Sasuke's like presence nearby because like ever since like the first time Gaara had basically like Sasuke had seen Gaara and Gaara had seen Sasuke like since then like until the then certain Gaara might have had that like absolute desire to like basically fight Sasuke and basically all for Sasuke and take Sasuke like to that was the Sanskrit to like feel better. Definitely my definitely my frame is and also feel like that spirit right now totally once again awakening and really right now like the spirit like awakening Gara is like the scenario that I'm personally something right now like so it is like the right so like I'm personally right then as like Gara would be waking up itself like I was like uh but like the and Gara straight away would be like doing this like spirit transformation to like the scenario that I'm in front of us. So like at that point, like Sasuke will be like Amazon straight away trying to like attack Dara, and at that point is when Amazon like Tamari probably standing in the way was like Sasuke and basically Tamari telling Sasuke and like challenging Sasuke that basically Sasuke is like so it's like the scenario that I'm referring like Tamari totally mentioned of like Sasuke's ego and provoking Sasuke and challenging Sasuke. Telling Sasuke along something thing dialogues along the lines of like Sasuke like so successfully from when like wait until like Gaara comes out of like pro power of like Sanskrit and basically that like challenge like Sasuke like totally naively falling for that challenge and do like Sasuke ego and then but like Sasuke only wasting much of time and like actually waiting for like Gaara to actually like complete the like Sanskrit translation like the scenario inside and the and like studying the Bible question like Gaara would be like halfway through lecture like transformation would be when like like Naruto the group of like Naruto Pokemon and Sakura would be making it short like that location were like Don and also the so like at that point they will be seeing like Gara like in the process of which like Sanskrit transformation into and like like that one about the things of like Naruto like straight away tells Sasuke about like that order and that like they need to leave their savior right then it's just like basically and all that like and then I'm just like Sasuke telling Naruto was like about like him wanting to like fight off against like Dara about like Sasuke at that point most likely telling Naruto that basically Sasuke couldn't complete this like soon enough some fight against like Dara and Sasuke is right now going to like have to defeat like Dara in that whole complete that zone next time by fight by defeating Gara. So like for Gara to to fight that Gara like full points like Sasuke is like waiting along the line. Sasuke will be like revealing at that point, like telling Naruto. So like at that point, Naruto getting angry and then Sakura will be like totally against like Sasuke's plan. Naruto will be totally getting angry and Naruto at that point would be trying to like also to like forcefully take Sasuke bring Sasuke with him like and everything at that point like Naruto like deciding to like attack Gaara and to like stop Gaara like process of like giant spirit transformation. So like I'm looking writers Naruto would be about to attack Gaara considering Sasuke stopping Naruto. At that point, it's like the scenario that everyone Sasuke telling Naruto that this is Sasuke's fight that Naruto should like stay out of it. And at that point, when I'm looking like Sakura finally would be like triggered to like the point of like Sakura at that point would be thinking of like Shikamaru like sacrifice because like Sakura would be like probably still Sakura plus Naruto would be still even while Naruto would be confident about Shikamaru surviving like Sakura still would be having that serious doubt as to like the possibility of like figure out as to like the possibility of like Shikamaru being able to like survive or not basically to save them like when Shikamaru had left them. So like and that was so like Sakura and Totoro like getting angry and like shouting at like Sasuke, telling Sasuke about like Shikamaru's sacrifice and everything, solely for Sasuke and everything. So like at that point, I was like Sasuke, most likely feeling bad that like because of him, like Shikamaru, supposed to take like Shikamaru was really angry. Like so, I'm going to bring that empathy to this Sasuke at that point. So like I'm going to bring at that point like Sasuke deciding telling Naruto and the others that then we should like head back towards where Shikamaru was and we need like save Shikamaru in the along the lines of the maybe after telling Naruto and Sakura. But like right then I'm just like the process of like the dance spirit transforming into Gara would be like over. So like Gara straight away, Gara's transformation happening at that point. And Gara straight away like at that point transforming into this like giant sand spirit monster and then like straight away like the giant sand spirit monster of Gara like basically like Gara transformed into like the giant sand spirit monster and like the giant sand spirit like is straight away targeting Sasuke and attacking Sasuke like the scenario is there and those different like at that point like Naruto and Sakura so they struggling along with the Sasuke struggling to like stop with this like the scenario that I'm doing so like I'm looking like initially itself like the time September like straight away will be like attacking and sidelining like Naruto as well as Sakura as well as like the rock partner without much great delay so like after that point it will be only Sasuke on that time so like Sasuke also trying to fight like happening and taking place at that point and like progressing and eventually like Sasuke not at all being agreed too much at all like even Sasuke like Shidori Sasuke and Boruto at that point using it like the Sanskrit but like at the Yara after like transforming into like the Zen Sanskrit will be having to like different so extremely superior legendary even Sasuke like Shidori not even upper like the Zen Sanskrit form of Yara and then Boruto like the Sanskrit giant Yara like basically totally offering and defeating Sasuke and as like the Sanskrit would be about with Sasuke like but that very last second would be when Naruto will finally get to and my Naruto would be like finally saving at that point he like saving Sasuke and stopping and I'm the sitting at that point being most likely the government that out of like Naruto that will be stopping that punch for like hit from like the giant Sanskrit which will be aimed at Sasuke to take Sasuke like that being stopped by like Chidama Gunta such like Naruto the scenario that and then like by the like Sasuke will get already defeated and sidelined and that's why so like then Naruto was Gaara fight happening from that point on and like this in which like I'm with Naruto without fighting alongside like the who are like fighting with Naruto fighting alongside like the government and I was from like in that fight like I'm like initially like it would be definitely something like I think I'm sticking to my good impression that like especially the power of like the government that or like I'm like the government that or like of Naruto won't be able to like shoot out water gun attack or anything but like I'm looking like so like I'm looking Naruto along with while fighting on top of like while on top of like the toad like basically and Naruto will be fighting off against like the giant form of like Dara like at that point they were initially totally struggling until like I'm looking like Naruto, along with like the toad, like basically figuring out the idea to like trying to like use water against sand, but like against like the sand powder. So like at that point, the toad of that Naruto, like I'm looking like totally like swallowing up from a nearby lake with like a lot of water like from like not swallowing, but like drinking a lot of water from like the nearby lake and basically holding it into its mouth and like shooting powerful water gun attacks against like the giants and spirit form of Dara, and like, that would be how like like Dara would be actually defeated by Naruto, and like the gun was that or like the scenario that was the first time of the brain. So the the Korean version right now, the Black Tamara right now trying to take on like Sasuke, and so that like I'm sort of put with like Dara, put like strategy and plan of like strategy of like Tamari, but not at all working out at all. It's like the scenario that I'm doing right now. Definitely like Tamari right now, as she would be like trying to like even attack Sasuke itself, like and the Sasuke like easily it or take off or defeating Tamari is like the scenario that I'm so that like Kankura won't even be able to like make it like escape when before that like Sasuke would be like defeating Tamari is like the scenario that I'm doing and like Sasuke at that point like maybe like I'm looking like maybe in like kind of like a one spending manner like telling Tamari that like the opponent that like were weak to like fight Sasuke immediately Gaara along the lines of saying that they really like Sasuke also saying something along the lines of like Sasuke doesn't even consider Temari as like an equal match of like an opponent to face off against like Sasuke would be along the lines of those Sasuke maybe in like a condescending manner of telling uh, Temari after like easily defeating Temari is at that point set to check the scenarios that I'm looking for. And at that point, like that the defeated Tamari as well as like Gangoro, to feel like totally like feel like they are stuck and like they are in like a tough spot and like would be like totally confused and won't be knowing what else to do. So like at that point, like maybe Gangoro would be like thinking of the maybe like trying to like take on Sasuke, but like at that point, self like the Sanskrit and Gara would be like only waking up and basically waking up Gara. Like the scenario straight away would be like Gara straight away would be like performing like that Sanskrit transformation to process like straight away we will be getting at that point. So it's like the scenario that I'm sitting on there as a brain. Okay, so like a human frame section right now with like Kankuro leaving right now with like Kankuro leaving with Gara and basically Sasuke thinking he should like straight away take out like Tamari and save time is in like Chidori or not. Like I'm thinking like definitely Sasuke definitely would be taking the decision to like not give the Chidori. Yet like I'm thinking right now by now like through Kakashi's training like Sasuke would have right now for very such superior levels of strength that lead into Sasuke right now would be like even without using Chidori without much delay at all would be like swiftly and quickly would be defeating Tamari. It's like the scenario that I'm putting and switching on to another story emergent. After like quickly defeating Tamari, like Sasuke will be like quickly even catching up to like Kankuro, also like the scenario that I'm looking. Okay, so like the train system right now was like Sasuke hiding right now from Tamari and Sasuke right now thinking of like separating like Tamari's fans from like Tamari to stop Tamari. Like definitely my friends and so like surprising right now the friend Sasuke would be using things like this. Right now it's like Sasuke hiding behind the tree like Sasuke from there to right now and will be creating like a clone of like Sasuke. Like using the clone to do and Sasuke creating a clone of Sasuke and like it will be most likely in the clone of Black Sasuke from where Sasuke is like hiding right now behind the tree, like from there, like I'm looking Sasuke's clone, then there's a friend like to be like attacking like Tamari or like I'm looking like the real Sasuke, like basically coming out of like from his like hiding behind the tree and like fighting Tamari without using like Chidori, while friend Sasuke's clone, according to like Sasuke's order, he'll be like stealthily, that would be like sneaking up behind like Tamari eventually, as like Sasuke would be like pushing Tamari but like for fight against like Tamari and would be like gaining all the focus of Tamari on and the attention of Tamari on Sasuke like but when like Sasuke's clone according to like Sasuke's like stealthy orders would be like stealthily like sneaking up behind from behind like Tamari and like would be like while Tamari would be fighting in like Sasuke's clone like most likely like kicking or like punching Tamari's like fans away and that way, like separating like the fan from Temari. And at that point, it was a game over about Temari. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at the ring and the ring. Okay, so like the human person right now with the doctor right now surrounding Temari with that fire phoenix flame gypsy like I'm looking at with like Temari right now surrounded by flames like I'm looking at right now like the strategy behind that doctor right now using that gypsy you must like need to like put Tamari into like such a situation, but like the world like usually while surrounded by flames, like Tamari would be most like it would definitely be forced to like use like a fan to like basically to use the wind power of the fan weapon to like really put out that fire. So like the while Temari will be using that at that very instant itself for like Sasuke to like sharp towards Temari so that like since like Temari would have only just like put out like the flame to like Temari won't be able to like once again use her like fan to like attack once again. So like at that point to like take advantage of that situation for like Sasuke to like at that moment sharp towards like Temari and basically attack Temari so that like at that point Tamari would be struggling. Tamari's guard would be wide open at that point, and Tamari would be struggling to like defend against like that at that point against that attack of like Sasuke. While Sasuke would be attacking Tamari at that point, it's like the scenario that I'm doing. Yet like even at that point, it would be like a low chakra using like due to that Sasuke will be most likely using against Tamari, or like Amazon Sasuke would be most likely trying to like throw a punch or like a kick at that point. It's also like about that ability. But like Amazon has Tamari is struggling to like defend against that attack of Sasuke. Like I'm looking like the clone of like Sasuke would be most likely at that point would be that appearing from taking up from behind Tamari and basically kicking or punching like the fan of Tamari away. So like that way to like basically thoroughly like trap Tamari into like basically separating like the fan from Tamari and basically like without the fan like Tamari definitely separating like without the fan like Tamari won't be able to like do anything at all like basically Tamari would be helpless without her fan. So like definitely at that point like Tamari like probably getting defeated by Sasuke like the scenario that I'm looking at right now. So like definitely with 3% right now with like Sasuke right now sleeping due to like the stand that basically Tamari had put during her full like attack onto the tree branch like right now Sasuke slipping from like the tree branch and falling and basically Tamari like gaining in on Sasuke and basically about to like bring down Sasuke like while Tamari would be think that like she's about to right now bring down Sasuke like it will be all part of like the Sasuke's like strategical plan and like Sasuke even slipping like accidentally like standing on that, stepping on that sand and slipping. All that would be something like absolute perfect fake acting to totally trick Tamari into like thinking that Tamari has a shot at that point. So that like to have Tamari gain in on Sasuke and close in on Sasuke with tough hand so that like at that point the player was at that point like definitely Sasuke's form would be like showing up from behind and sticking and separating Tamari's fan away from like Tamari. And that at that point it's just like both the real Sasuke as well as like the clone Sasuke would be like most likely using the combined attack on Tamari at that point, which would be maybe that badly injuring or like knocking out Tamari unconscious is like the but it's like the possibility that I'm suffering right now, not the brain. Also like the feeling is very interesting right now is that Tamari so quickly like being defeated by Sasuke and basically like Tamari right now being so badly injured. Like I'm thinking that right now I'm thinking like without much delay at all like Sasuke would be catching up to like Kankuro and definitely at that point I'm looking like for two possibilities. Either it being like Kankuro that or being a single like Sasuke's ego and then like Sasuke to like challenging and telling Sasuke to like fight Gaara at Gaara's like full strength in Gaara's like Sanskrit form like basically and Sasuke falling for. So like I'm wondering either that tricking of Sasuke by nothing of Sasuke ego that either I'm wondering that would lead to the Kankuro that would be doing that and tricking Sasuke that way. Or like I'm wondering like by the time Sasuke would be catching up to like Kankuro, I'm wondering that the other possibilities like basically Kankuro then like being forced to like have other noise that choice but to like try to like stop Sasuke and like Sasuke without much delay at all like would be like simply defeat not for any defeating Kankuro. And at that point, there's a thing that as like Sasuke would be walking towards like Gaara to like attack Gaara. Like at that point, I was wondering by then like Tamari possibly showing up, and maybe like that's like the other possibility that I was wondering by then like Tamari even though badly injured like students would be making it to that location, and basically Tamari being like the one to like Sasuke's ego at that point, and basically resulting in like Sasuke ending up deciding to like wait and basically like at that point till like Sasuke Sanskrit form detecting Sanskrit like within Megara like basically detecting Sasuke's presence and straight away like performing like starting the performing of like the Sanskrit transformation with this like the other possible scenario that I was bringing in. But also like the cleaner reaction right now with like Orochimaru's like face right now turning into that of like a young girl and basically with like Sarutobi right now so at that at the percentage like Orochimaru has completed like the percent to do like of course definitely remember in like the Orochimaru like fighting style would be that in such a way that basically Orochimaru will be someone who will be like targeting specifically only for Peranjit alone, definitely not for Peranjit, because like a person like Orochimaru himself using his own strength would be having like limitations, definitely my Peranjit. Orochimaru by himself won't be like so extremely strong. So like I'm looking like Orochimaru's strategy to like get strong might have been to like by precisely targeting Forbidden Jutsu and like Orochimaru definitely would be like a quick learner. Definitely since that Orochimaru the same person that I'm sitting on to that like really Orochimaru definitely won't be a human. Orochimaru actually would be like the leader of like the snakes in like the snake realm. Whom like I'm talking most likely to be like the second Hokage that might have like summoned Orochimaru into as just like summoning creature in like the distant past. Definitely going to be like the first Hokage has like with like wood style jutsu and he was like so elections like using it was using like the reveal that it was using like the wood style jutsu that basically that the leaf village was built like Amazon. So like Amazon like in the first Hokage the leaf might have been getting a lot of praise and Amazon like in the beginning like and then definitely it might have been definitely the first as well as the second Hokage together that might have found that like the leaf village certainly was everything. Yet like due to like the wood style jutsu like the first Hokage. The first Hokage might have been not only stronger than that second Hokage, also since like the second Hokage is that power is that of like the element of water, like since it's like water style jutsu and like the other is like a wood style jutsu, it would be plant based. So like I'm so like even due to like the fight disadvantage itself, like like there would be that fight disadvantage, but like the first Hokage would be like naturally like stronger than like the second Hokage. And on top of that, like with like the first Hokage is like exceptional would style to say ultimate like leaf village was created like because of all this reason like I'm referring to the first Hokage even while them both might have been the founders of the leaf village like the first Hokage might have been getting all the attention and like might have been getting praise more than like the second Hokage and which like second Hokage might have had that absolute jealousy towards when the second Hokage which is like intent to like surpass like the first Hokage in strength might have decided to like use like to use the summoning jutsu to like bring a strong summoning creature. So like I'm looking like at that point like he might have decided to like bring a summoning creature from like the snake realm. It's definitely what might have happened to me. And I'm looking like even while like the summoning jutsu might have exited from like the distant past and basically like there will be like all sorts of like ninja warriors out there who have like all sorts of summoning creatures. Yet like I'm looking like maybe like summoning creatures from like the snake realm might have been like forbidden because like snakes, like the snakes from the snake realm would be having like a reputation for being like extremely tricky and like definitely remember to understand like all sorts of like bad events might have happened whenever like in like there might be such a history of like ninjas, like strong ninjas from like the past having like summoned like snake creatures from like snake realm and basically like it eventually ending up in basically like the ending up in a tragedy and all that. Definitely my contribution. So like Ambassador Navy, it might have been like maybe absolutely no one usually might even like summon creatures from like snake realm might have been like the situation that might have been how it was definitely my contribution. Yet like Ambassador like due to that desperation like the second Hokage might have had to like surpass like the first Hokage in strength like the second Hokage still might have decided to like summon not only any snake creature from like the snake realm, but like the leader of the snake realm. And that snake might have been like Orochimaru, and like Orochimaru might have definitely like studied like observed and studied like the second Hokage, and like second Hokage might have like extreme innocence as part of his like personality and character, and like which like Orochimaru might have successfully figured and might have taken advantage of, and might have easily might have been able to like correct like the first Hokage, and I'm a second Hokage, and I'm looking like the first Hokage might have been not that the innocent type like the second of the first Hokage might have not been like the innocent type like the second Hokage. So like the first Hokage might have been thoroughly crossed and might have been against like basically the second Hokage having the like summoning freezer and basically of the snake summoning freezer over the also. Like I'm also like back then like and after like bringing out Orochimaru and when like second Hokage might have even surpassed like the first Hokage in strength is definitely very rare. So like since then like in wars that might have fought with like past in like wars that might have been fought since then like I'm looking like by in which like the first Hokage as well as the second Hokage might have taken part in like this league. And second Hokage might have performed even way better than like the first Hokage solely due to like Orochimaru the summon breaks out of Orochimaru is definitely Orochimaru to the English. So uh, due to like its strength combined with like the strength of like the summoning reader or Orochimaru certainly like, while that first Hokage maybe might have not had any summoning reader, might be the first Hokage's strength like he might have been someone who might have relied only on the like the style jutsu alone for get like he might have had that absolute master of it, like his style jutsu. And on top of that, it's still style jutsu, which is also spin also like and through such a manner like for Hokage my strength will be like solely related to style jutsu mainly definitely not including it. So like I'm like eventually the Orochimaru might have probably eventually like the second Hokage into like usually turning to like turning like the snake creature of like Orochimaru into like making it have like humanoid like form with like arms and like continuing with so like I'm looking like Orochimaru might have probably like trick the second Hokage into like basically having the second Hokage have take just like influence like Orochimaru even more than his like the first Hokage. Like that way like in the second Hokage might have started to like listen to like Orochimaru way more than like the first Hokage. And eventually that way like it might have been like the second Hokage using some sort of like let's see the series to might have the Orochimaru into that humanoid like form and like with Orochimaru's intent behind that might have been to like basically with that like with him having arms and like for Orochimaru to be able to like steal all the really like there might have been like the symbol of there might have been like a great number of forbidden goods or containing scrolls and like headlock pieces and like pieces. So like Orochimaru might have actually figured out about this and Orochimaru's plan might have been to like steal all this like forbidden scrolls and basically to learn all this like forbidden jutsu and with that like to destroy like the village and Orochimaru might have been like probably so they my consideration that like tomorrow might be like totally against that might have been leaked down to totally extremely angry while like the first Hokage might have been while like the second Hokage might have brought over tomorrow from like the summoning from like the snake realm and basically had all of a sudden like Orochimaru who was like he might have been like the leader of like the snake realm and might have been given orders to like all the remaining snakes in like the snake realm all of a sudden being like rolled over by like the second Hokage like that might have totally and Orochimaru did not yet like he might have not showed it. So like I'm looking like Orochimaru's plan might have been to like once turning into like a humanoid form for like Orochimaru to like basically destroy like the entire world and basically as Orochimaru takes the life of like the owner of like second Hokage and like everyone in like the village, destroy like the village and destroy like the world. Because like Orochimaru might have like absolutely not because like Orochimaru would be like inactively like a summoning creature like Orochimaru won't be even caring about like the world of like the humans and basically Orochimaru's like ultimate goal might be actually to destroy like the entirety of like the world, have this destruction and basically for then for like Orochimaru to like basically use like once like Orochimaru has got just like arms like basically humanoid form like at that point like Orochimaru might know that basically like so like my consideration for like a bunch of processes like one positive like there might exist like unique cases out there like 80 forbidden cases out there using which like a human will be able to like travel from like the world of the living into like the world of like the summoning freezer. So like maybe for Orochimaru's like plan would be to like eventually even steal that forbidden scroll and basically that jutsu for like after destroying like the entire city of like the world and getting organized like Orochimaru will be able to like easily like head back into the like summoning world of the summoning realm of like the snake. So like my temporary obsession was like Orochimaru totally be having like this obsession with like solely directed towards like forbidden justice alone. And it will just be about like the exceptional powers and then the unique powers of like the forbidden justice alone. But like I'm looking like there will be also some like non-forbidden justice out there as well that would be like only unique and would be having like exceptional strength as well. But like I'm looking like the such a reason for like Orochimaru's obsession with like forbidden justice alone, which Orochimaru be having like only towards like forbidden justice alone would be due to the lack of awareness about like the forbidden to like its unique powers and everything like basically the rest of the majority of the rest of the world. There's only very few people that will be that knowing as to like the powers of like the forbidden jutsu that are out there in like the world of living of the temperature. So like majority will be totally unaware of for like the powers of like forbidden jutsu in like the world. So like I'm going to only yeah, that would be what Orochimaru will be totally seeing as like that absolute advantage Orochimaru will be getting if he gets his hands on like all sorts of like corporate industries out there, certainly not the so like I'm looking like basically in like the past before leaving like the leaf village might have been definitely when like Orochimaru in like the last time might have had like the fight against like Sarutobi in this like basically like solely due to like Sarutobi like feeling like solely due to like Sarutobi totally like Orochimaru might have totally tricked Sarutobi as like Sarutobi back then might have been about to take Orochimaru's life. Like Orochimaru might have totally played the victim and might have like not played the victim, but like Orochimaru might have like begged for like Sarutobi to like spare Orochimaru's life that like he would change and along his lines like Orochimaru might have maybe cried and begged to like for his life for like Sarutobi, which like I'm looking at reason like Sarutobi at one point might have actually been like a teacher of like Orochimaru and like never in Sarutobi. That teacher student like emotions might have that so like my impressions that like at that point back then when Sarutobi might have decided to like spare Orochimaru's life. Like at that point itself, like Sarutobi might have like had his guard down. So like Sarutobi might have only or constantly thought that like the fight was totally over. But like at that point I was from like Orochimaru and at that point like Orochimaru might have been still holding on to that scroll like that and I was like that when Orochimaru had left like the village like during that time like the Orochimaru might have been trying to like leave with like after like stealing a bunch of like after stealing one forbidden arrow from like the leaf village at that point. Like right before leaving, like Orochimaru might have got hold of that one and was like on its way into like escaping from the leaf village of stealing one important forbidden scroll and that forbidden scroll would be like the exact forbidden scroll using which is like Orochimaru like able to like possess like other humans, especially maybe the infection. So like Orochimaru right now, even having the base of like a young girl, like basically all that would be like the possession kind of like a jutsu that would be like a forbidden jutsu that Orochimaru might have stolen and might have Orochimaru definitely probably did like Orochimaru being like a quick learner, like Orochimaru would have completed that jutsu by now, and basically this would be the reason for like for like Sarutobi being shocked because like and then because of that quick learning powers of like Orochimaru will be connected to like Orochimaru not being like human and like that like due to like Orochimaru being like the summoning creature, it would be like unique abilities that like the snake summoning creature would be possessing like the ability to like quickly learn things and like definitely my total impression. So definitely my total impressions that like so like back then like once like Sarutobi might have decided to like spare Orochimaru's life and might have had his guard down like Orochimaru might have and like Sarutobi might have walked towards like Orochimaru while having his guard down like Sarutobi might have walked towards Orochimaru to like take back like the scroll the scroll from Orochimaru but like at that point like Orochimaru by which might have only take advantage of that situation to like attack like to use some sort of like a stealthy like to attack on like Sarutobi to like basically that way, like I was wondering, like Sarutobi might have gotten tricked by Orochimaru, and that might have been how that Orochimaru might have been able to like might have back then like successfully escape from like the Leaf Village by stealing while holding on to like that forbidden uh, scroll that containing like that forbidden jutsu of like the body possession. Might have been what might have happened in that path. It's definitely might have been. Also, definitely on the trend direction right now, as for like right now, like Orochimaru exchange of case into like that of like a young girl, like Orochimaru straight away even talking about like how like a sort of these like powers have how we can due to like old age, like everything definitely I don't impressions that like Orochimaru will be having like that absolute awe confidence because like I'm from like Orochimaru right now in like the person will be actually immortal, certainly member and I'm looking like one like Orochimaru might have completed learning that like forbidden jutsu of like body positioning like Orochimaru in a way might have turned into like an immortal because like even though definitely Orochimaru won't be like invincible like unbreakable still like Orochimaru as long as Orochimaru will be having access to this like position jutsu, body position jutsu, like and different Orochimaru will be able to like live on forever. Definitely my very impression. So, as long as like no one or person takes the life of Orochimaru and as long as like Orochimaru has access to this like body position jutsu, like Orochimaru will be able to like forever like focus like uh, newer and newer body once like the body that Orochimaru have already covered would be like turning old, would be growing old, stepping into the friends to like to such a manner like Orochimaru would be able to like live on forever. So like I'm looking definitely like eventually like the temperature I'm looking like most likely it would be like Naruto that I'm looking like learning some sort of like a unique jutsu using which like Naruto would be like most likely canceling out like canceling out and most likely forcefully like making or like a jutsu attack, like tuning jutsu attack, like I'm something like the learned like body possession jutsu of like Orochimaru forcefully being unlearned from like Orochimaru's like mind is like the scenario that I'm doing. That way, like Orochimaru, that will be how like I'm like eventually Orochimaru moves into like immortality and then returning it to like a monster by losing his like body possession jutsu. Like and that way like Orochimaru not being able to perform his like body possession jutsu at all. It's definitely not the limit. And that way like Orochimaru being from an immortal like Orochimaru turning into like a mortal at that time. It's like the limited scenario that I'm taking for the Korean of the also the figure of dimension like for like how like the body position to of like Orochimaru will be working on the demon like through like basically the width of like the target thing like Orochimaru wants to like the body of like that person like will would be like absolutely necessary factor for Orochimaru to be able to like use like body position to like focus like the body of that target. Especially when the damage and it's fine because that's the reason for like Orochimaru even and like without being able to like use force to like straight away up like Sasuke like basically even back during like the cost of like the second phase of the internet and like Orochimaru had fought off against like Sasuke even back then like Orochimaru not being not forcefully abducting Sasuke at that point itself to be precisely because of like that build of Sasuke seeing that absolutely necessary fact for Orochimaru to be able to like process Sasuke's body is definitely not experiment. But precisely because of this reason like Orochimaru might have placed that mark on Sasuke definitely not experiment. Mark of Orochimaru and Sasuke and everything definitely matters very much. So like will would be like an absolutely necessary fact. And I'm looking like in the past like I'm looking like in the case of Anko like I'm looking like what might have been like the scenario. And I'm also looking at the premise that like among like the great truth of like the body composition due to be also like probably even more reason for like the body composition and due to being like a forbidden jutsu would be also due to like basically even like there would be like 100% even while like the target or Kimaru able to like gain like the will of the target. Even then like for like the body person to be a success like basically there are only 100% success rate for like the body composition to be a success. Like even in the process of like body composition, if it fails, like I'm looking like there will be that risk of like the person, the target whom like Orochimaru is trying to test the body of like if like the body composition used to fail that target and become dying would be also like a possibility. It's also definitely there will be a certain percentage of like that risk as well in like the body percentage as like how it works. It's definitely one correct. This will be one more reason for like the body percentage to and like being a forbidden use so it's definitely mitochondria evolution. So definitely like mitochondria evolution for like maybe what might have happened in like that distant past before Orochimaru left like the leaf village like the center like Orochimaru might have planned to like basically stealthily steal like all the forbidden scrolls from like the vault that would be like presently containing all the forbidden scrolls contained in like the leaf village. The new thing. So like Orochimaru's plan might have been to like stealthily steal all that forbidden scroll and then to like stealthily leave the leaf village might have been like that and Orochimaru's plan. So like I'm definitely like and this would be stretching of like due to also the clear the brain question for like Orochimaru like the past like has taken the decision to like leave the league village like and also even that decision of Orochimaru might be due to like Orochimaru repeatedly having multiple times in like the past having tried to like basically by taking the life of like the first and second Hokage, which might have been like with like that itself like Hokage might have first taken the life of like second Hokage and like in the shock of seeing like that second Hokage like first Hokage's brother that second Hokage like the first Hokage might have totally at that moment during that shock of like the first Hokage seeing like his brother that on the floor like at that point might have been when like or Timaru who might have been like hiding might have straight away ambush attack like basically like the first Hokage and might have taken stuff like when the first Hokage felt the new premises that so like maximum might have the impression that like back then like after like in second Hokage might have summoned Orochimaru to be like a summoning to be his like a summoning snake creature like at that point I was like Orochimaru is just like second Hokage and eventually might have gotten to like give Orochimaru that humanoid kind of like form at that and back then like Orochimaru might have been turned into like a child like form like Orochimaru might have been like the age of like the child in that human form like that like second Hokage might have turned Orochimaru to back then it's the minimum pyramid and like the like Orochimaru might have reflect the second Hokage into like basically making him declare in front of like the village that like the second Hokage actually has like a son, and basically that like for just second Hokage might have only declared in the manner and that like son is like Orochimaru and all that. So like eventually Orochimaru might have like using that as a step and have this kind of way like Orochimaru might have taken the lives of like the second as well as the first Hokage, and then Orochimaru as like the son as like with like the least and that certain like totally thinking that like Orochimaru is like the son of like the second Hokage, like Orochimaru went to totally explain like Orochimaru to get like the position. He gave like finally reached the position of like the Hokage position of like the village. And like the reason like Orochimaru might have wanted like feel that Hokage position might have been wanted to like that way take control of like the entire village and to use like the village like start war with like and throw the war with like all the other villages and that way to like create, eventually create that absolute destruction of like the world. And having Orochimaru plans that you know trying to let us sleeping on to so like really that at that point like Orochimaru's strategy might have faced with like Sarutobi becoming like ending up becoming like might have been what might have happened. So like then like I'm within like Orochimaru like next plan might have been to like trick Sarutobi into like gaining like the liking of Sarutobi so that like eventually that Charlie Sarutobi as well with like Orochimaru skill so that like eventually like Sarutobi might already Sarutobi might have been kind of aged when Sarutobi might have became like the Hokage. So like at that point Orochimaru might have not expected like Sarutobi to like basically make Orochimaru like replace Sarutobi as like the next Hokage. But like even that might have eventually failed once like Sarutobi might have chosen like Naruto's father like to be like the fourth Hokage and not Orochimaru. So like this might have been like the point when like Orochimaru might have been fed up and Orochimaru might have taken the decision to like basically to like basically leave the village after like hearing like all the pros and like the confidence pros and like the leave village and what Orochimaru to like leave the leave village and basically to start his own sound village. Might have been like that plan might have been formed with Orochimaru at that point. To definitely not so that like Orochimaru like at that point can be start his own village and be the leader and basically use that village to like destroy all the other village. Might have been like the plan that Orochimaru might have been something like Orochimaru's mind at that point, making the scenario that I'm looking. And I'm wondering by then like Orochimaru might have been like getting older and older, so also the mandatory ambition of the and I'm looking for like at that point like Orochimaru might have decided that before escaping from like the league, like Orochimaru might have planned to like basically like use like the body position to so the flavor the signal that eventually like Orochimaru might have been like the classmate of like basically like another sort of like the fourth Hokage, like exactly like Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke, like basically it might have been like the case like back then with like Orochimaru and like Naruto's father, like back then Sarutobi and Sarutobi might have been the teacher and all that new information. So like I'm going eventually once like the fourth Hokage, like Naruto's father might have became like the fourth Hokage, like at that point I'm like Orochimaru might have only used that like whole fake act of like a friendship that like Orochimaru might have created with like the fourth Hokage to totally like have like the fourth Hokage's job down and usually Orochimaru might have even attacked like the fourth Hokage with the intent to like take the life of like the fourth Hokage because like definitely the access to that vault where like all the forbidden scrolls will be definitely the like some like it will be present in like the palace or like the place of like the fourth Hokage. Definitely of like the Hokage is definitely one of the things so like there Orochimaru might have that way like attack like the fourth Hokage like badly injured like Frickson attacked like the fourth Hokage and badly injured the fourth Hokage and Orochimaru might have stolen like the forbidden scroll from like the vault and on the way of like Orochimaru's escape like and looking here he might have been like stopped by Sarutobi and that might have been when like this whole fight might have happened and to that point I was like maybe so like the Indian specifically I was mentioned that basically in that fight sitting at Sarutobi and Orochimaru that never taken place in that system was like basically Orochimaru might have begged Sarutobi to like basically spare Orochimaru's life and that way Orochimaru might have tricked Sarutobi into like lowering Sarutobi's job and Orochimaru might have used something like a powerful for when you to attack on like Sarutobi at that point causing Sarutobi to like so badly keep injured and I'm looking like at that point Silver was like Anko might have been present like on the sideline, like literally watching all the that absolute shots. Might have been also like the scenario. So like I was looking like at that point, felt like Orochimaru might have had to like 40% scroll that he would have stole at that point, felt like from like the board, like and will be on his way to like escape. So like after like badly injuring so be like Orochimaru might have sort of like just escaping, but like on seeing like Anko like Orochimaru might have instantly sort of his like body position jutsu because like during that time like Orochimaru might have been aging a lot, might have reached like a certain age, certainly my friends might have grown a lot for certainly my friends. So like I'm looking like at that point like on seeing like I'm for like basically who might have been like extremely young back then and looking like Orochimaru might have straight away uh, sort of like the body was jutsu and like I'm looking like at that point like Orochimaru might have only since like Orochimaru at that point might have only just stolen like the body was jutsu. Like Orochimaru might have not knowing that basically back then that basically like the body was jutsu not for to work like that will of the target is like actually an essential necessary factor. So like this Orochimaru might have not been aware back then. So like Orochimaru might have tried to like straight away use like the body was jutsu using the scroll like Orochimaru might have straightaway try to like use like the body of the jutsu on to like Anko and like since like they're working like Anko's build at that point like I'm looking at jutsu like Orochimaru even though that jutsu might have affected Anko like still like Orochimaru's that attempt to like push Anko's body might have failed and like all this might have happened right in front of like the badly injured like Sarutobi. You know the finish. So like even though like Orochimaru's like body composition jutsu on Sanko might have failed at that point, and even though like the body composition jutsu will be definitely having that higher risk of like basically if like the body composition attempt like fails like the target possibly ending up dying. But still like there will be that small percentage for like the target or like a certain level of percentage for like that even in like failure like of like the body composition like basically the target survives. So like Anko might have only gotten lucky back then and Anko might have survived back then. And like so like Orochimaru might have been like considered that like his like body composition attempt had ended up on Anko ended up being a failure. Still like Orochimaru might have decided to like really quickly try to like escape from like the Leaf village while holding on to his like body position to those throat never removed. So like I'm like thinking of like maybe just like the body position do so forbidden soul I don't that never Orochimaru might have had in the like question back then or like I'm thinking there might have even been like more forbidden souls from like the Leaf village that like Orochimaru might have stolen back then. It's definitely no premise. And so like I'm even right now like the person that's well I'm still thinking my premise that like Orochimaru still might have not been able to steal all of like the forbidden souls like the League Village back then. So like I'm looking right now with the Black Fort attacking like the League Village and everything, and basically Orochimaru then fighting against like the Sarutobi in like plain view and plain sight, like literally all this would be like that as Orochimaru creating that as a distraction for like the entirety of like the League Village. So that like since like Sarutobi is like the Hokage of like, the League Village and such an important person like so. And so that like the entire with the League Village attention would be on that fight between like Orochimaru and Sarutobi, so that like Orochimaru might have at least tell according to his like strategical plan might have given already plans even before like his like attack on like the village. He might have already given the orders to like one of the seconds meant some villages meant to like steadily like while like the entire of like the village will be focused on like the fight between like Orochimaru and Sasuke for him to like basically steadily go up to and basically steal that throat from like maybe steal the keys from like the palace of the Hokage and basically like to basically open that vault and basically steal all of the remaining forbidden space from like that vault and basically and then like it will be either a single scroll or like I'm looking maybe like that can spend a Orochimaru stealing more than one scroll and basically that way like this would be like the ultimate main current goal of like Orochimaru behind like Orochimaru's like current alliance with like Sand Village and like the collective attack like the Sound Village and the Sand Village basically collectively attacking like the League Village right now like Orochimaru like attempting all this like basically like doing such a thing like Orochimaru's like action proof and then would be just these throws these forbidden throws lying lying up within like the League Village instantly to get just like hand on those confidence will like so and like Orochimaru will get even more a whole lot stronger. Maybe like Orochimaru like actual for goals right now, especially in the present right now, especially in the 300. Okay, so like you know, 300 right now for like after the right now being back of like the past memories of like his past memories of like Orochimaru and like about like Orochimaru like the thought of consciousness like I'm definitely right now with like in the past like I see this art the infiltrating into this like location like there are like a lot of like this things like close things with like a writing on it like all of those great number of close things like I'm doing like what will be contained within it will be all forbidden scrolls especially with the so like there will be like that many great number of forbidden scrolls in total just in that within like the leaf village alone, definitely one of the friends. And I was like similarly like the friend there will be like forbidden all sorts of great number of forbidden souls across like the world in all sorts of villages out there. So definitely my end that the world is definitely my dream. So like this would be like these great number of things would be all containing like the forbidden scrolls in that within like the village alone, definitely one of the dream. So like Orochimaru, what Orochimaru might have been doing back then in that room might have been like Orochimaru might have been checking through like might have been quickly trying to like go through all those like forbidden scrolls and like trying to pick like the ones that Orochimaru will be feeling as if like it would be like the best suitable person to like accomplish his like wellness goals and perspective. It's definitely not the Korean culture for like or Orochimaru right now would be like checking like the things like quickly checking going over and checking like the things one by one and trying to like decide like which scroll that he should like for which forbidden scroll that he should like steal. Might have been what Orochimaru might have been doing in that building and that past. It's definitely not the ambition. So like my opinion ambition that is sitting on this little bit that like so like back then like the body composition to scroll forbidden scroll might have been in one of those things that like Orochimaru might have been like checking out in that home containing all those great number of forbidden scrolls and the movement like might have been like with that body composition to scroll forbidden scrolls and basically Orochimaru that day that then might have managed to like escape from the place. Never again. Oh, yes, and definitely know with the interesting right now as well. Like back then when like Sarutobi had found Orochimaru in this like lab like place like with the Orochimaru back then like revealing to like Sarutobi how like Orochimaru wants to like get every truth and want to know the truth of like the world. Like what that would be like solely so that like Orochimaru could like eventually use all that knowledge to like basically form like his like ultimate army as well as like with like all the ultimate powerful jutsu with its like Orochimaru would want to like destroy like the entire world. It's the film I was crimson. That would be like the only ultimate goal of Orochimaru. And that is the sole reason for like Orochimaru thinking all this knowledge and doing all these experiments and everything. It's definitely my very question. Because like definitely I'm still thinking about the premise that like Orochimaru definitely won't be a human because like and this like the distorted consciousness of Orochimaru definitely would be like actually due to lack of Orochimaru not being a human and Orochimaru actually being like a summoning creature snake from like the snake realm the lead of like summoning snake creature in like snake realm is definitely my good impression of that Orochimaru's intent. I'm still thinking about the impression would be to like destroy like the entire of the world and return back to like snake realm and once again rule over like the snake realm. It's definitely my good impression. Orochimaru might have that strange sense of revenge might have been formed within Orochimaru like the moment like the second Hokage like the same past might have summoned like the lead Orochimaru from like the snake realm and made Orochimaru who was like the leader back then in like the snake realm like basically take order from like the second Hokage. But that point itself like that extreme ego cupping of Orochimaru might have maybe like Orochimaru taking that might have caused like Orochimaru feel that extreme sense of like anger towards like humans that basically towards the entire world. And basically that the path from the Orochimaru to like gets revenge by destroying like the entire world might have been formed as like the ultimate goal of Orochimaru at that point. Even from way back then, especially when so like to be more likely to achieve the score that Orochimaru back then might have even told that start of that like he wants to know the truth of like the jutsu and basically he wants all the jutsu and everything. And all that is definitely my good intention. Like as for like all the bodies of like the or back then like the Chunin as well as Genin totally going missing and even like the lack of vessels back then going missing from the village and Orochimaru right now even talking about like Orochimaru wanting to know who was like the first person that who was like the first person that had mixed like the blue and the green, the blue and the yellow and got green and all that. Like I definitely by these dialogues like Orochimaru will be most likely I'm the Super Orochimaru will be most likely talking about like the blue chakra and like the yellow chakra. Definitely I'm thinking there will be definitely existing yellow chakra as well out there in like the world. So like I'm still thinking about the impression that like it wouldn't just be like the blue and the red chakra of Naruto alone that is like there will be chakras of all sorts of colors that like having like all sorts of unique powers associated with that specific chakra color. It's definitely my perception out there in like the world and like it will be like there will be that hierarchy of like in terms of power like there will be that hierarchy in which like the chakra color would be like actually a rank. It's definitely my perception and that would like most likely Red and the different most likely would be like the bronze chakra color, definitely my favorite. And Naruto's final villain in the show would be like I'm different like would be having like the chakra color that would be like the second strongest, especially like in the two Indian distinct of scenario towards like the final end of the like I'm different like Naruto's final boss fight in like towards the end like that boss would be would be most likely having like the chakra color that's like the second strongest. While Naruto's like chakra would be like totally the strongest chakra that you know with project. So like also definitely have this reimbursement right now with for like index that is compared to like with like the mental folks who possess like the power of the chakra and easily attacking like the manipulation like that is compared that maybe that might have happened due to like most likely Orochimaru like after like escaping and leaving like the manipulation of the like Orochimaru might not only like had that intent to like destroy like the intelligence. With that intent, like on the different like Orochimaru might have gotten someone to like basically to attack like the someone exceptionally strong, but like who might have totally also been part of like that but some bloodline of like that different ancestor who had like the red chakra like and like Orochimaru might have and that person might have been like Hokage of some village during that time. So like and like Orochimaru might have totally got him killed like basically and bribed him made some sort of like an offer that he couldn't refuse to like get him to like basically attack and try to like destroy like the liquid and it might be through like just a red chakra that he might have it might have been just something trace of that like nine-tail fox might have been the nine-tail fox in like the past that tried to like destroy in the liquidation might have been just that Hokage level ninja of like some other village like this summoning creature might have been like the we might have the purpose like the Raja Grind, it might have been just summoning creature back in the night box might have been whom like Narcos Papa back then might have saved, you know, like save the village that might have like place that put that nine tail seed that nine tail box into like Naruto. And I was like even seeding the nine tail box into Naruto solely might have been possible for like solely might have that even be possible might have been solely due to like Naruto already having like the red chakra, you know, because like the popularity as well, like fundamental connections that he might have had like the red chakra, so like Naruto as well would have obviously inherited like the red chakra, and it will be solely due to like Naruto having like the already processing like the red chakra might have been like the sole reason for like the focus even being able to like seal like the script of like seal like the night of from within Naruto, within the baby Naruto. Definitely remember everything. Had it been like any other little list ninja with like the blue chakra that like uh, that like Naruto's father had tried to like seal like the script of the nine box into then like that person with like the blue chakra might have straight away died and he won't be able to like handle like the exceptional powers of like the red chakra of like the nine box. Just need my picture and go like this is definitely my very impression. Also definitely my very impression right now I've got like back then when like Sarutobi had found Orochimaru in this like lab like place where like Orochimaru figured how he was doing like to development and basically was like the unbook like of the like the Genius and films from like the place. So we should be doing this in that and like so and also like what Orochimaru might have been experimenting back then might have been to see all the various like jutsu like all the various like jutsu or like chakras and all that like basically for Orochimaru like experience experiment and to get all to find all the various chakra colors that like Orochimaru can create like by and then also like definitely Orochimaru might have been like behind like the missing of all those gens and things like I'm looking like Orochimaru might have maybe been like Orochimaru maybe during some fight or like while Orochimaru was like something in as like a legalist ninja like maybe during one of like the wars like Orochimaru among against like an enemy ninja like one of like the like ninja who like Orochimaru might have taken like Orochimaru might have steadily brought the body of that person into like Orochimaru's this like secret lab and back then and then like Orochimaru might have been able to like extract out his like different colored chakra and basically like Orochimaru might have mixed that different color chakra. Maybe that might have been a yellow chakra with like the blue chakra with like Orochimaru that might have affected someone getting or tuning from like the leaf list and basically mix the blue chakra of like that person might have taken his life and might have taken like the blue chakra of that person and mixed with like the yellow chakra and that and like studying like the green chakra that was formed. Might have been like Orochimaru might have been able to like extract out like chakra from dead bodies that we might with and like and mix the chakras and like, experiment with it and then like Orochimaru might have wanted to like see all the color different colored chakras that like Orochimaru can basically create through all this mixing and basically like then like Orochimaru's ultimate goal as well like even though I'm remembering it will definitely to like destroy like the entire of like the world still I'm remembering that to achieve that like Orochimaru might be only even doing all like jutsu development and part of that goal like to achieve that goal like Orochimaru might want to be like the strongest in like the world and might even want the strongest army in like the world as well. That you know the not to do that like I was going like Orochimaru back and through his like experience might have been also trying to like achieve this like concept of like basically a single person being able to like handle multiple color chakras like basically that as well, especially since like Naruto can already have like the blue chakra as well as like Sharat chakra. And I'm assuming that reason would be especially due to like definitely like the Postage his wife might have definitely had like blue chakra. So like I'm assuming like maybe that way like might while like the Postage might have definitely had like Sharat chakra. So like that way I'm assuming maybe like that might be also like that might be the reason for like Naruto having like both the blue as well as like Sharat chakra. So also definitely I'm assuming so like I'm assuming like Orochimaru might have learned of like the red chakra being special and all that, and like Orochimaru might be like back then this road experiment like Orochimaru might have been like basically trying to like turn himself through the experience like eventually Orochimaru's plan might have been to like turn himself into like such a ninja who would be able to like handle like all the different colors to chakra that Lina was for Orochimaru to be able to like handle all the super like all the different color chakras, including the red chakra as well as all the other colored chakras that exist out there for Orochimaru to be able to like process all of that. So that like Orochimaru would turn himself into like the ultimate warrior and like destroy all the other villages, even with like a small army like so that like Orochimaru will be able to like he will be so powerful that he will be having the power at that point to like destroy all the other villages out there and that way destroy like the entire the world might have been like what Orochimaru's plan might have been like that. And what like Orochimaru might have been experimenting that when especially now with the impression right now. So sort of remember like that then like Orochimaru might have been even extremely jealous of like Naruto's father because like I was like in like the days of Naruto's father as well like who might have been like who might have been friends with Orochimaru but like Orochimaru that and that time might have been probably putting on a fake act like he's friends with like Naruto's father back then. Basically remember the and then actually like Orochimaru might have been extremely jealous of like Naruto's father as well that he might have had like both the red chakra as well as like another chakra as well. And it's definitely one of the reason. Okay, so like definitely one of the reason right now as for like Orochimaru's like absolute passion for like the immortal for his like immortal beauty like and like definitely since like already Sarutobi has aged, but like Enma as well that look seems aged like understanding so since like Enma is in fact like a summoning creature like definitely so like since according to my pyramid temple so like Orochimaru as well in actuality might have been summoning a snake to reach up in like the snake realm. And not like might have also been like the leader of the snakes in like the snake realm. Back there, back then, like while Orochimaru was like the leader in like the snake realm and might have been ruling over like all the other snakes in like snake realm. Even then, like I was thinking like Orochimaru might have had like thought even way back then. Orochimaru might have had thought. It's like Orochimaru might have observed like Orochimaru aging more and more, even as like a snake, like Orochimaru aging more and more. Like Orochimaru might have observed this, and Orochimaru might have had this like unsatisfactory feeling towards like this him aging and basically like that unfulfilling kind of like a feeling and that kind of like a disturbing that kind of like a feeling and that might have always like lingered on Orochimaru's mind like the thing that basically Orochimaru might have felt back then that basically about like Orochimaru aging and Orochimaru sitting at like like absolutely there was absolutely nothing he could do to like stop it. And basically might have been then that like like Orochimaru might have been summoned by like the second Hokage to like the human world of the fitness, the human framework from like the snake realm to like world of minutes. So like I'm just like after like being summoned into like the world of humans, like I'm very able like definitely it is like Orochimaru that might have definitely been like the role of the leader and like that with the ruler in like the snake realm. And basically like after like Orochimaru being summoned into like the real world and have being forced to like take orders from like the second Hokage, Orochimaru might have been deep down extremely better and like might have already fixed in his mind to like to really take like the life of like the uh, second Hokage. But like I'm just like after like that way like living Orochimaru as like the summoning snake like after living life spending time with like the second Hokage might have eventually like started like observing like all this like might have participated Orochimaru as like the summoning snake might have participated in like a lot of along with like the while fighting alongside like the second Hokage and she it might have been through these paths that like Orochimaru might have been introduced to like all these different chakras and all these different jutsus and different kind of like unique kind of chakras and Orochimaru himself like through that path might have faced like all sorts of like forbidden jutsu and everything by forbidden jutsu attack by like the enemy village and everything is also like new to right. You know, like it might have been like the forbidden jutsu alone that like that might have totally take Orochimaru's like interest because like I'm going as for like how extremely drastically different like the forbidden jutsu might have been compared to like the normal powerful jutsu depending on the different level. So like that might have been like the point where like Orochimaru might have had this like dream in his like soul in Orochimaru's mind to basically experiment and basically to like create his own jutsu like basically his own forbidden jutsu like basically such a dream might have been formed within Orochimaru's mind and like tomorrow Orochimaru might have started secretly experimenting by like basically uh, secretly affecting like uh, that villages from like the uh, Leaf village and all that like and this might have all happened after like Orochimaru might have already tricked like the second Hokage into like basically giving Orochimaru to that humanoid form from like the snake form. Orochimaru secondly never trained. So eventually like Orochimaru might have like the more Orochimaru might have been experimenting but like Orochimaru like eventually might have realized that that like there is like a path to like basically achieve to basically to achieving that like goal that Orochimaru goal of like wanting and desire of like wanting of wishing for Orochimaru wishing to like be able to like live forever which like Orochimaru might have that when Orochimaru might have been like the leader snake in the snake realm might have thought that basically that would never be possible like Orochimaru through his like experiments while Orochimaru was like a human and basically while watching the and he was like secretly experiment doing all of the like experiments with like the jutsus and chakras and everything like basically that point Orochimaru might have suddenly realized that basically he could in fact achieve immortality through like at his like his experiment to like he could create like an immortality jutsu might feel like along the lines like Orochimaru might have eventually figured out certain of his friends and that way like Orochimaru might have eventually created like the immortality jutsu and definitely I'm just thinking like definitely right now for Orochimaru's intent might be like and just like right now basically even in that interactions between like Orochimaru and Sarutobi in like the past like Orochimaru had even talked about like Orochimaru not only wanting to like learn all the jutsus and all the truths about this world, but also that way he wanted to be like the ultimate individual. That Liam was different, like Orochimaru even desiring all this might right now my prediction that like it might not at all see for Orochimaru to like basically destroy like the world, but like to completely destroy it and like the world into like basically causing like the throughout extinction and like the complete destruction of the world. But like I'm like Orochimaru's plan might have been might be to like basically to turn himself into like the ultimate individual by knowing all the truth like that. Orochimaru would be totally believing that like by knowing all the truth of like the world and learning all the juice like Orochimaru would be ending up being like the promised ultimate individual in like the world. And at that point coupling that with like this immortality Orochimaru will be able to like rule over like the entire of like the world forever for eternity. So like I'm like after like spending time in like the human world after being summoned like by the second Hokage might have been what might have happened. Like Orochimaru eventually might have like the world of humans like so much to like the point that like Orochimaru might have wanted to like rule over like the and live for eternity in like the human world and like rule over like the ultimate individual rule over the entirety of like the human world as like the ultimate individual and and that way for Orochimaru with like absolute freedom to like villainously rule over like the entire world and basically to create all sorts of chaos and basically to destroy all the peace that will be existing within like the world. Basically, like Orochimaru bit only against like on against peace, and basically Orochimaru only always wanting like some sort of like a chaos or always happening across like the world or throughout like the world, and to create such a world and basically to be like at the very top as like the ruler of such a world and to rule over such a world for like eternity while inflicting pain and sorrows to like everyone around Orochimaru. Like basically, and Orochimaru might be eventually gaining like joy out of that. Definitely, my consideration. That would be like the kind of like the stock consciousness that will be existing within like the group summoning creature that snake creature that would be what Orochimaru to truly definitely my consideration and perception right now. So like the film of impression right now that like even though right now Orochimaru has achieved this like goal of like attaining like the immortality to say that still my impression that like still Orochimaru will be like still extremely insecure and feeling vulnerable is the new great because like even while Orochimaru right now is in a way an immortal like I'm still like the fact that Orochimaru is not strong enough to be invincible. That factor would be that that way of having like affecting Orochimaru's settlement of the dimension. Like Orochimaru would be like desperate to like as soon as possible to turn himself into like that ultimate invincible that individual, especially by learning all the truths and learning all the truth like and Orochimaru would definitely have without having that fear that is until he reaches that point of like level of strength. Orochimaru is still vulnerable to dying not of old age, like even while Orochimaru is like immortal, like still only there's like Orochimaru not being invincible, like there's always that risk of like someone actually offering Orochimaru and taking Orochimaru's like so like there will be this like element like Orochimaru might have probably thought of like this side of like the Orochimaru situation and there will be that absolute fear within like Orochimaru in concerning like this fact of stepping away with because like Orochimaru there might be also other strong ninjas out there in like the world and the Clipper like Itachi would be like one of the would be like currently far superiorly stronger than Orochimaru. Yet like but maybe like Orochimaru like the past might have even after like even the this lesson maybe like the past like Orochimaru might have even in like the past might have even fought off against Itachi might have and yet like might have embarrassingly lost against like the superior strength of Itachi, especially also my Buddha impression. Yet like my Buddha impressions are like Orochimaru still would be like even though Orochimaru at that point might have been extremely frustrated and angry towards like Itachi and might have looked friendly, even Orochimaru right now, especially choosing like Sasuke for his like body position as well would be slightly to like basically to like eventually possess Sasuke's body and basically like using like Sasuke to bring out like that true potential of like Sasuke's sharing and using that for like Orochimaru to like have a rebattle against like he was like Itachi, while and that way like to have like Itachi's brother take Itachi's like and that way like for Orochimaru to like that way like by considering Jasper's body to like take Itachi's like would be like Orochimaru's like shadow ultimate goal. And that would be potentially like it might have been a serious shock for Orochimaru when like Orochimaru in like the past might have fought off against like Itachi and might have Itachi and might have embarrassingly lost to like Itachi. So technically and this might have been something that might have happened once like Orochimaru might have got to like the position of like chief and like one of like the legendary ninjas, particularly with the ninjas. Because at that point, like Orochimaru might have targeted like the remaining two legendary ninjas, like who are like something like most like I think like or like especially one would be like the among the three legendary ninjas other than Orochimaru, the other two would be like Jiraiya as well as like Itachi, except on the relationship. So, like Orochimaru in like the past might have fought off against like Jiraiya and might have only probably awkward and defeated Jiraiya as the universe famous. So back in like distant past, so like I'm looking like that there might have been that aspect of confidence in Orochimaru that is really that he's so strong that and everything. But like once like Orochimaru might have challenged Itachi with that same or confidence like Orochimaru like it might have only backfired on Orochimaru just like Orochimaru embarrassingly losing to like Itachi and they are even managing to like escape Orochimaru's life might have been what might have happened back then. It's definitely not imagine. Yet like I'm looking like Orochimaru would be like well fully aware that is really definitely like unlike Orochimaru who's like who has the immortal juice in like Itachi no matter even though I'm looking Itachi to be like far superior stronger than Orochimaru currently. But the current still Itachi definitely won't be having like any immortal juice in that. Itachi still would just be like won't be like a more it's definitely my so like Orochimaru would be like still deep down knowing that basically even if that like regardless of like how successful it would be the response that he would be like even then like that he would be like eventually slowly getting old and basically once at that point like Orochimaru even if like Karastan will be able to literally or integrate and take the life of Itachi and get the revenge on Itachi will be one thing that Orochimaru will be then fully aware of. Again like I'm saying maybe it is like Orochimaru's ego getting hurt so badly due to this like embarrassing defeat. This might have happened against like Itachi in like the past like Orochimaru might have no might not even have like the patience to like wait until Itachi gets old. And so like Orochimaru might want to like basically when before Itachi gets old and those of Itachi's like close friends like Orochimaru might want to like basically fight Itachi at like Itachi's like full strength and that way itself for Orochimaru to like or for Itachi Orochimaru to like their own strength that like Orochimaru even while fighting against Itachi like Itachi's full strength like Orochimaru to able still be able to like or defeat Itachi and take Itachi's life and that way to get that absolute satisfying revenge which will be one like Orochimaru would be seeing that as to achieve that would be like the current one of like the main multiple goals that Orochimaru would be having. Like one of like the top important goals for Orochimaru right now, like the person will be uh, like taking Itachi's life and getting revenge by warring and defeating and taking Itachi's life while making Itachi suffer a lot and basically then to like take Itachi's life and that way to like get revenge will be like Orochimaru's like mindset as to like how he Orochimaru will be planning on getting a revenge on Denji. So also that needs my reach and production right now. So like basically in short, like my representation that is sitting on this, like even well right now, Orochimaru is like basically taking so much pride in his like immortality jutsu that even right now like deep down, deep within Orochimaru, there will be that extreme insecurity and fear and vulnerable state of like Orochimaru, which will be like totally like that absolute fear that Orochimaru will be having basically that still even while being an immortal like that like Orochimaru still isn't strong enough to be invincible that like basically anyone out there in like the world feels like will be like stronger feels like stronger than Orochimaru uh could like take Orochimaru's like life at any moment like basically that uncertainty would be like hugely disturbing and affecting Orochimaru's ability of play. So like to reach that levels of invincible level of strength as soon as possible would be like that there will be that extreme worry within Orochimaru to like make it happen as soon as possible for Orochimaru to clean up the play. And like for Prince Sasuke's body would be like one full step towards that direction of that goal of Orochimaru. Just name of the friend. Okay, so like the Korean version right now is like Orochimaru right now villainously like basically changing back his face to like the original Orochimaru face from like the face of like the younger and I'm definitely like while Orochimaru is transformed and in like the body of like that younger like basically I'm looking like Orochimaru will be like even stronger than like when Orochimaru will be in like the body of like the age actual Orochimaru is definitely a good understand. Yet, like I'm looking right now, with like Orochimaru would be like totally right now. So Orochimaru revealing that he wants to like really like make start of this upper before he dies. Like I'm looking like definitely right now like definitely even still I'm looking like definitely start of the I'm looking would be still taking out both like the first and second Hokage and defeating like the first and second Hokage. Like that's a scenario that I'm still thinking on it. And at that point, I'm looking like definitely Optimaru will be like by the time like Sarutobi will be taking out like the first and second Hokage, like Optimaru will be bringing out like the fourth Hokage. And against like the fourth Hokage, I'm also like Sarutobi getting like beat like basically getting extremely immortal and that turning like that weakening like Sarutobi and Sarutobi totally not being able to like bring himself to like basically disrespect like the fourth Hokage by actually like fighting like the fourth Hokage even though like because like Sarutobi like, deep down having that extreme towards like the fourth Hokage al- already in like the past and on top of that like actively like fourth Hokage even like saving like the leaf list by giving his life so like that might have been what might have happened so like I'm looking like when like the Hokage had placed like the stick of like the Nine Fox onto like Naruto, that Jutsu might have taken up like the life of like the Hokage especially, and that might have been how the Hokage might have died, especially in my explanation. So like definitely like there will be that feeling of gratitude as well as like absolute respect within like Sarutobi towards like the boss Hokage that like I'm looking and that's totally getting in the way of like Sarutobi even while knowing that like it's not the actual boss Hokage that like standing in front of like Sarutobi at that point still I'm Sarutobi not being able to like himself to like actually fight to take the life of like the boss Hokage. So like I'm looking definitely and by the time definitely I'm looking like Sarutobi taking offering and defeating and taking the life of like the first as well as like the second Hokage. And about the like that self absorption seriously affecting Sarutobi a lot and like that's the scenario that I'm looking so like emotionally that seriously affecting Sarutobi a lot is like the scenario that I'm looking but like I'm looking like even though Sarutobi offering and defeating and take the life of like the first as well as like the second Hokage still I'm looking since they are already dead like I'm looking like Orochimaru is still able to like call them back into like Orochimaru's like reanimation coffin, which definitely remember the reanimation. And like while Sarutobi would be going through that at that point would be going through that extreme emotional kind of like a phase, disturbed phase like that time period will be unlocking maybe would be what like Orochimaru would be using to like basically to quickly and steadily bring out the fourth target. Like the scenario that I'm looking and I'm still sitting in my brain so that like eventually it will be like the fourth target that like Orochimaru will be controlling that will be like taking the life of like the third Hokage and after like taking the the third Hokage will be dying by the hands of the fourth Hokage. About like Orochimaru using that very same reanimation to be like creating one more coffin and basically like taking like that fourth Hokage into placing him into that coffin is like the scenario that I'm projecting and that way like the like in like Orochimaru's like selection of like Hokages like I'm projecting like third Hokage as well getting added to like Orochimaru's like collection of like Hokage warriors in like the scenario that I'm projecting and I'm so yes, so like definitely no very impression right now as for like Sarutobi right now thinking back and remembering back the days when like Sarutobi was young and was like the teacher of like Orochimaru as well as Jiraiya as well as like one other girl. And those that girl might have even totally ended up marrying like Naruto's father. That's definitely my friend. So like that girl, the third member that girl in like Orochimaru's like throwback then like three member team back then like with one being Jiraiya, one being Orochimaru, like that other girl with like the blonde yellow hair, like I mean, she might have definitely been the mother. Eventually ended up being like the mother of Naruto. Definitely remember the impression. So like she might have eventually ended up marrying like Naruto's father. Definitely remember the impression. So definitely my personal impression that like with like Sarutobi right now thinking of those days and basically back then as well like basically with Sarutobi detecting like basically tendencies of like malice and determination in like Orochimaru eyes like basically with Sarutobi even noticing that and like basically just like Sarutobi even thinking of that back when like Orochimaru a young Orochimaru was like looking at like when Sarutobi had shown like Orochimaru, Jiraiya and then other the number the statues of like the three Hokages, like the first, second, as well as like Sarutobi's like faces in like the mountain. Like basically at that point itself, like the malice, like intent that like Sarutobi might have sensed in like Orochimaru back then, all the way back then, might have been precisely due to like while Orochimaru was like looking at those statues of like, the three Hokages in like that mountain, like basically what might have been totally going through Orochimaru's the young Orochimaru's mind might have been precisely that like it might have been like Orochimaru might have that I'm stupidly remember that might have been Orochimaru, that young Orochimaru that might have taken the life of like the first as well as the second Hokage. And with like Sarutobi's statue right next to like the statues of like the first and second Hokage in that mountain, like the see like Orochimaru, like the malicious intent, like that was in Orochimaru's mind back then, in the young Orochimaru's mind back then, by looking at those like statues might have been like along the lines of like Sarutobi is next, that basically in like Orochimaru's like hit list might have been like along the lines like of like a malicious intent that like was going through like Orochimaru's might like staring at like the statue in like the mountain of like the first, second, and the third Hokage Sarutobi's like statue back then in like the mountain. Definitely my personal impression right now. sort of element of reimpression that I believe since like back then Orochimaru was like only a child like and was like back then itself like Orochimaru might have already fresh like the entirety of like the leap village into saying that like Orochimaru was like the son of like the second Hokage by Orochimaru tricking like the second Hokage into tricking like the entirety of like the leap village with like the trick second Hokage might have told all of like the entirety of like the leap village that basically he had proof that he was like hiding a secret from all of them, and that basically that he has a son, and basically that son is like Orochimaru. It might have been along the lines like Orochimaru might have been through like Orochimaru's like fake acting of like affection towards like the second Hokage. Basically, often like Orochimaru might have called him father, and basically all that like basically that way like I think Orochimaru might have tricked like the second Hokage into like basically accepting Orochimaru as like seeing Orochimaru as like his son, and basically that way. While in actuality, Orochimaru might have been like the summoning snake creature of like the second Hokage, that the second Hokage might have summoned, and basically Orochimaru, like while being in the like snake form, like might have even then like might have found like the fake act has to gain the affection of like the second Hokage, and might have told us the second Hokage. The thing remember that like the snake Orochimaru back then might have told the second Hokage that like he wants to be yeah he wants to turn into like a human. He wants like a human form so like he could like totally hug like he could like show up like a person to so that like he could like totally hug like the second Hokage. Like basically along the lines like about like Orochimaru might have totally played with like the half of like the second Hokage into like basically making him like definitely the second Hokage might have had some sort of like a unique to use him with which like he might have turned like the like someone creates a snake which might have been Orochimaru into like a child, and that would be how like Orochimaru might have ended up becoming like taking up human form and becoming like getting known also about like the legal age as like the son of like the second Hokage might have been what might have happened in like the past with me with the Emperor. Okay, so like but me with the Emperor right now that is listen it was during like a war zone era, according to like Sarutobi, that basically Sarutobi had detected like and noticed like malicious and determined intention from like the child or Orochimaru back then. Like I'm considering so like definitely it was all during like a war zone era. Like I'm considering in that war that might have took place back then. Like I'm considering like the death of like the first as well as second Hokage, like the entirety of like League, including like Sarutobi back then might what they might have already might have been like the death of like the maybe like even to the present like they might be doing exactly that like the death of like the first as well as like the second Hokage was during that war, which might have been like not the case. It might have been actually Orochimaru possibly taking advantage of like that whole situation in that whole war to like stealthily like sneak attack like the first and take out like both like the first as well as like the second Hokage might have been what might have happened. So like the entirety of the intelligence are the big back then might have thought that like the first as well as second Hokage might have died during due to in between that war. That means what they might have already given the okay, so like the cleaner will say present right now as for like start right now in like the present right now like all of us are in like basically like deciding to like correct the mistakes and basically deciding to like take the life of Orochimaru, taking that decision which we couldn't in like the past. Like all of them are right now in getting that absolute courage and determination and getting over the softness to like basically take all that decision right now in like the present. Still, my favorite impression is that like still it wouldn't even matter like like what decisions Sarutobi takes in like the present because like my favorite impression is especially that like Sarutobi's like fate would be like already might have been already sealed like the moment it's like in like the past when Sarutobi had allowed Orochimaru to like escape like at that point it's like Sarutobi faced fate to like eventually die by the hand of like Orochimaru might have been already sealed. That's definitely one of the things. So like now so like the thing I was saying is that right now, no matter how much like Sarutobi will be right now deciding to like correct his mistakes and make a comeback and actually take Orochimaru's life like and Orochimaru still Sarutobi definitely not succeeding in that. Sarutobi right now I'm still thinking about the premise and definitely would be like taking the life of both like the first as well as second Hokage with this like sudden like surge of like absolute courage and like determination in Sarutobi right now. And using that, like Sarutobi will be succeeding in like actually or scoring and defeating and taking the life of like the second Hokage. But like that point itself, like Orochimaru will be bringing out like the fourth Hokage and seeing like the fourth Hokage itself, like Sarutobi would be like getting weakened to the point of like the fourth Hokage like easily overpowering and defeating and taking easily or easily straight away taking the life of Sarutobi. It's like a scenario that I'm looking at. My preference is definitely for there to not even be lack of fight between like Sarutobi and like the fourth Hokage. Sarutobi won't be able to like bring himself to like fight like the fourth Hokage. So like I'm looking at Sarutobi like basically like the extremely vulnerable Sarutobi on one side and basically the fourth Hokage walking towards Sarutobi and straight away taking the life of like Sarutobi. Like the scenario that I'm looking for the right and my personal answers. And my better impressions definitely for like the first taking Sarutobi is like the comparison the fourth Hokage will be taking Enma's like Sarutobi summoning thriller like for Enma. But the it's only due to like Sarutobi softness like I'm different like Enma like the fourth Hokage taking Enma's life like Enma might have been like such an absolute close best friend of like Sarutobi. Might have been like an absolute close friend of like Sarutobi because of like them having like shared the so much of the so much of things together that like even from way back then when like Sarutobi had allowed like Orochimaru to escape like even back then like Sarutobi had like Enma by the side like and those different definitely like Sarutobi and Enma might have gone through a lot in their life and might be like so close yeah so like I'm looking Orochimaru like realistically basically ordering chapter for Hokage to like take the life first take the life of Enma in front of Sarutobi so like I'm the friend in Sarutobi for the like totally with witnessing that and suffering so much like seeing like the poor Hokage like someone who respects who Sarutobi respects so much to take the life of like Sarutobi's like best friend like Enma and basically then like the fourth Hokage would be walking towards Sarutobi and at that point Sarutobi would be so extremely weak and would be like extremely weak and I'm looking like the fourth Hokage straight away and without Sarutobi won't be showing any resistance at that point. So like Sarutobi would be like totally like extremely weak and I'm like at that point like the fourth Hokage taking Sarutobi is like it's like the scenario that I'm looking for in my opinion. So like that's really my good impression that like even though at that point I was different Sarutobi to be like an extremely weak state after like witnessing like the photo take and must like the scenario that I was doing. Yet like even though at that point like Orochimaru himself would be able to like just walk up I was looking for the situation was like Sarutobi is so extremely weak that Orochimaru himself would be able to like casually walk up towards Sarutobi and take Sarutobi's life would be in such a situation. Yeah, because that's how much extremely weak Sarutobi would be. Yet like I'm looking like the extreme villanism within like Orochimaru taking the decision to like definitely have like the fourth Hokage itself like take that service like so that like it would be that much of like an even more like that will create like that much of like an even more suffering for Sarutobi even during Sarutobi like momentum as well. Which definitely for like mentally as not just physically but also mentally as well to like have that happen like the extremely realistic Orochimaru would be like definitely ordering taking the resident to like have like the fourth Hokage itself like take the life of like Sarutobi the third Hokage like the scenario that I'm considering and sitting on the screen. But okay, so like definitely going to the mention right now, but like Sarutobi bringing out two of the like shadow clones and basically Sarutobi like basically using this mysterious to and basically and totally detecting and noticing that basically and recognizing that mysterious clue like definitely number three exactly like Sarutobi had earlier said like it would be like the first jutsu of like the fourth Hokage. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. I'm looking at right now. It's like I'm looking at the jutsu of like the fourth Hokage. I'm looking at right now. Like the two shadow clones of Sarutobi will be straight away using that jutsu attack of like the fourth Hokage. That definitely like the first and second and would be like instantly like the first and the second Hokage who are already dead would be once again dying through that attack of like that powerful jutsu of like fourth Hokage slash the scenario that I'm looking at. And like at that point, number different like to face off again to face like the jutsu of like the fourth Hokage like I'm looking like Orochimaru in such a manner and then Orochimaru even saying a dialogue to like the Hokage like Sarutobi and they really like the and at that point I'm like Orochimaru bringing out like the fourth Hokage see like face off against like the fourth Hokage so would be along the lines like I'm looking like Orochimaru keeps saying and doing the set the scenario that I'm doing. And seeing like the Hokage itself, like Amazon Sarutobi won't be even able to like bring himself to like even use like that of like the Hokage, even against like the Hokage, like Orochimaru be like maybe I mean like the Sarutobi will be totally seeing that have like an extreme disrespect would be along the lines toward like the Hokage to even do such a thing would be along the lines of the thing in it. Sarutobi straight away ending up being weak at that point. It's like the scenario that and recovering and on game. Okay, so like definitely my memory I'm listening right now with the reveal that like Naruto's father was like Kakashi's teacher, like and everything. So like definitely my memory is definitely that like all the teachings of Kakashi, like maybe where Kakashi had given to like Naruto's Afghan Sakura thing, like Afghan like they were taught by Kakashi. They ended up like showing up to like basically get the teaching from Kakashi. Like since then like everything that Kakashi has taught them like basically uh, would be all a lot of them would be like the direct teaching of like that of Naruto's father. That Naruto's father might have been taught like Kakashi back when Kakashi was like around Naruto's age, and a lot of those teachings would be like teachings of like Naruto's father, and like a lot of Kakashi's teachings to like Naruto's Sasuke and Sakura might be like teachings like formed through inspiration from like the teachings of like Naruto's father, which like the teachings of Naruto's father, like Naruto's father have taught Kakashi's definitely my friendship. So like a lot of them would be the direct teachings of Naruto's father, and a lot of the teachings would be like inspiration from the teachings of like Naruto's father, which like Naruto's father might have given Kakashi's definitely back when Kakashi was a child, definitely my totally question right now. So that's like definitely no impression right now for like start of the upper becoming Hokage, like basically carrying like the baby Naruto in his like arms, like basically definitely so much impression like back then like Naruto this district might have been to like basically have Naruto grow up with like at like Sarutobi's like palace or like huge building where like the Hokage building would be. Definitely was going to have like Naruto grow there, like exactly like how currently in like the present like where that would be where like Konohamaru would be like living with definitely my friends along with like his like grandpa Sarutobi would be where it would be like same building that like Konohamaru would be like living in. So definitely my friend. So like it might have seen actually Naruto might have been meant to like actually according to like the decision of Sarutobi like Naruto might have actually been meant to like basically live there in the same building as like that of Sarutobi. It's definitely my friend. But like like it might have been like Iroka something that might have like might have totally told might have been like adamant about like might have strongly suggested to like Sarutobi that basically that like no Naruto should not be living there but like uh, that like Naruto should not be living in like the same building as like Sarutobi basically like because like then like there will be like all these questions for like Naruto as like eventually he grows up like basically Naruto will be like seeing Sarutobi as his like father and basically that like would be like easily proven wrong by like the people around like the village. So like basically basically so like there will be that question within Naruto as to like who his father was and basically as to, like how he died and about all that like basically chose like and the thing to hide all that truth from like Naruto until like Naruto grows up and matures enough and reaches like the age where like Naruto would be able to like handle the truth about like his father, like the Hokage, and him dying to like save the village, and about like the Nine-Tailed Fox, and about the Nine-Tailed Fox within Naruto. Since like uh, all these questions will be like arising within Naruto, and like all this like Naruto would be like finding out about it. Like if Naruto would be like living in like the same palace or like the same building as that of like the of Sarutobi the Hokage Sarutobi that Dumbledore along such lines Dumbledore like the Hokage might have told Sarutobi back then the benevolent friend. So like Dumbledore it might have been precisely due to like the strong suggestion of like the Hokage that like Dumbledore it might have been Sarutobi that might have agreed and basically might have decided to like have Naruto like Dumbledore like initially Naruto might have grew up the second might have been a Ruka that might have probably taken care of like Naruto back when Naruto was a baby and like and Naruto might have grew up with like Ruka. It's definitely what might have happened to the and so the reason would be due to like Ruka being that such having so much of like an extreme respect and might have been not only been extremely fond of like Naruto's father like the Hokage but might have been absolutely grateful like Naruto's father like was again might have even helped out like Sarutobi back when like Sarutobi was like a child like and was like growing up and was like a ninja and all that like back then like Naruto's father might have helped uh, back when like Hiruka was like growing up and was like a ninja was like a child and was like a ninja back then like basically was like a genin and all that like pure then like I was Naruto's father might have helped Hiruka a lot especially remember the and on top of that like basically like all the acts of like basically everything that Naruto's father said like as he grew up and like basically grew up more and more as from a genin to like a chunin as well as reaching a jonin and basically eventually even reaching like the Hokage position as well as like eventually saving the leaf village by sacrificing his life like all this like Saruka might have been a witness to like all this and it's like so like that way like Hiroka, that absolute hero image Hiroka might be only seeing like not the author as like ultimate hero. Certainly my was very and Hiroka might be extremely grateful for not the father as well doing that and it's definitely for like a lot of things including this certainly remember the language and this might be the precise reason for like Hiroka possibly having taken the decision back then to basically take care of Naruto even back when Naruto, like a baby, like it might have been the Shizuoka that might have taken care of Naruto, and like the baby Naruto might have been living with like Hiruka back then. Hiruka can say back then, so it's definitely my going to answer question. So like basically, so like my friend mentioned that like the focus again, the father like even from a young age might have helped out Hiruka a lot in like Hiruka's life, definitely with and right. And so like Hiruka might have been like after like the perspective of again, like Hiruka might have been trying to like I think say just like kindness and extreme gratitude towards like the person by taking absolute good care of like Naruto. Might have been what might have happened in like the past, certainly one for him. Also, like living on Korean person, basically in like principles, like basically like among like the three Kenyan students of like Naruto's father, like basically just like one being like Akashi, like that among like the other two, the other one like Kenyan student would be like and the friends would definitely be Asuma because like Asuma as well, like basically always choose on this leaf stem like thing on his like mouth like and those like since that game student as well have that like a similar kind of thing that basically he's chewing like I'm bring like that other student with like the whole class of and like the with leaf thing in his like mouth like basically that might be actually Asuma so like Kakashi and Asuma might have been Sasuke and Naruto back when they were again and definitely might be the correction right. So like it's not like I was able to say like among like the three students of Naruto's father, like one being like Kakashi, like the other might have been Asuma, and like the third that female student like I'm thinking like her might have been like definitely she might have definitely died certainly not the right, especially because of like her not being present right now in like the present in like the village and so she might have definitely died as she grew up and might have reached like joining level means as like I'm like she might have totally a part of like some mission that like in which like maybe either that by Kakashi, and the it might have been especially after like Kakashi, as well as like the three of them reaching Jonin level, because Jonin level means just like I'm like either it might, I'm assuming it might be during some combined mission that like where like the three of them were to like participate together. Like it might be in like an extremely high level mission and like in that mission I'm assuming like she might have been when like she might have died in the second version. Okay, so like the cinema representation right now was like sort of finally unleashing that ultimate will to affect the purpose again. Since that will go to like the reaper suit to like I'm looking like so definitely I'm looking like right now I'm looking especially for using that grim reaper to like I'm looking like that grim reaper right now I'm looking uh destroying and annihilating and eliminating and destroying like the souls of like those the first as well as like the second birthday, like that soul, like that soul, like I'm different, like would be like thoroughly obliterated and destroyed, like the scenario that I'm referring by the Grim Reaper due to spending on the presentation. So, like, but that, and then the point of that, the scenario will be like Orochimaru losing his like pressure first as well as second birthday. It's like the scenario that I'm referring. Get like I'm referring once, Orochimaru will be bring out the slack. At that point, I'm referring like Orochimaru will be like extremely angry because like I'm looking like even then like I'm looking like Orochimaru might be not expecting for might be not at all expecting for like the old man Hokage like Sarutobi to be able to like take the life of like to destroy the souls of like this league, like the first to the second Hokage, definitely one of the same person. So and this would be like triggering for to being like not even Orochimaru being aware of like the week of this like about definitely like the like Orochimaru losing like the first and second Hokage would be like that might make but that might even trigger Orochimaru definitely one of the same person because like Orochimaru right now like gaining immortality Orochimaru would be on that separate than like quest to like basically be the ultimate strongest person so that like Orochimaru could be invincible and that way guarantee his like immortality for like eternity. It's a new brain. So like this number like Sarutobi taking out like the precious like permanently taking out and destroying like the precious like first level the second Hokage control Hokage of like Orochimaru. That ambition will be like a huge blow to like Orochimaru and like Orochimaru and the will be like Orochimaru's powers will be like like to like be have to take a hit like and will be like reduced to like a certain extent without Orochimaru having like the first level second Hokage in just like afternoon. So like from that point on, it's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking the regard of Orochimaru like straight away at that point like sending out like the fourth Hokage and looking like the fourth Hokage taking the life of the third Hokage and at that point like definitely I'm looking like Orochimaru will be ensuring that basically he like basically he supports the body as well as like the soul of like the net soul of like the of Sarutobi and basically that way adding Sarutobi to like the reanimation often of like Orochimaru like the different scenario that I'm still thinking on to animate again. So definitely that way like I'm looking like Orochimaru losing like the first as well as second Hokage and basically gaining like a new Hokage which would be like the Sarutobi is definitely my favorite.